sinful secrets.
Oh my god, I think this is the one that probably everyone's going to be even more interested in.
Yeah.
Because I think we get so carried away thinking, oh yeah, it's just a vegetable, it's just this, and I can have it, and I can have it tolerable at night.
Fine.
Completely fine. So I think this is the bit that I'm excited about.
I think most of us know the sort of generic foods and things to avoid and keep away from, like your fizzy drinks, like, you know, your
Junk
processed
food,
junk food and
yeah.
so on. So I thought I'd give you guys something a little bit more interesting and you know, things that perhaps you aren't aware of. So with the rise of diet drinks and diet sodas, and you've got sweeteners to add instead of table sugar and so on, these sweeteners, some of them anyways, have been linked to lots of cancers. Some of these sweeteners have been linked to, you know, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia. So, you know, these sweeteners I would completely, you know, be cautious of. However, there are other natural type of sweeteners that people are using, and some people are overindulging in because they think
it's healthy.
It's healthy. It doesn't have calories. It doesn't have an impact on us.
Yeah.
Actually, this is where I'll throw it to you.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Ooh.
So, you know, things like agave syrup, you've got coconut sugar, and you've got, you know, even honey. Yeah, they are healthier. Not exactly healthy, but they are
still high in sugar, isn't it?
100%. So agave nectar, agave syrup can be very high in fructose, and some people I know are actually quite intolerant to fructose. So, you know, they might feel quite bloated and so on after that. So I would definitely say, you know, minimize the amount of sugar possible, be it natural, and the man-made ones, I personally would completely steer away from.
Okay, fine. Okay.
So
what would you use as an alternative then?
So the healthier alternatives are still better. So like I will bake with coconut sugar, but I will just use less of an amount.
Okay, fine.
So it has to be very controlled. And one other thing you need to realize, especially in the Western world, sugar and salt are two very, very cheap products that a lot of manufacturers are using to elongate shelf life. Because it's cheap, it's available, and it adds flavor into the food, they use it.
So bad for you.
So sugar and ketchup, who would have thought? But when I tell people that ketchup has a lot of sugar, like, are you serious? And then when I say actually and it has a lot of salt too, they're like, what?
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't think it.
You wouldn't think it. Cereals have a lot of hidden sugar. The term hidden is basically, you know, I interpret to be how manufacturers use the salt and sugar to elongate the shelf life and basically, you know, make the food even more flavorsome or addictive.
So would you say the kind of food that usually tends to say no added sugar is like a better option?
It's better, so it's definitely one step better in the right direction. And also, like I said, if you're making your own thing, so if you wanted a cake, bake your own, at least you know how much sugar you are putting in. If you are using sugar, I personally would always say use brown sugar over sweeteners. I would also say, you know, control the amount or just minimize the amount you are using. And that's my view on sugars.
So that I would have never thought ever like that. It would make the list of foods to avoid. Not that I'm a popcorn person, but I know a lot of people who do. And you're right, a lot of these healthier sort of cafes and whatever, they all sell them now, and you can buy the low fat, whatever, like little bags of popcorn, and you think it's a better option than eating crisps.
And on the plus side, I think it's low in calories. Like crisps, it's not got the excess oil. It's quick and convenient, really. You can just pick it up, and it's a quick and easy thing to take with you to work and so on. But the main thing about popcorn is the hidden salt. So they add lots of salt to the popcorn, like with crisps and so on. But maybe even to enhance the shelf life of the popcorn in packets. So salt is one thing, but the other dangerous aspect is something called PFCs. And PFCs are linked to cancer. And PFCs are basically found in the lining of the bag that popcorn is inside. So they have been, there's numerous studies to show direct links between PFCs, which is a chemical or a compound that has been directly linked to cancer.
It's quite scary, really, thinking about it. And so many people do have those little packets that you put in the microwave, and you're just like, oh, it's quick and easy, and you just like have a little bit just while you're watching a film or something. And
I have an option for that. So what I would suggest as an alternative, if you are a popcorn lover out there, get your organic popcorn kernels, make it at home, get some coconut oil, and you can season it with your own salt or whatever. I sometimes add some spices to it, you know, give it your own kick, but at least you can, like
turmeric or cinnamon.
Well done!
That's going to be the weirdest tasting popcorn ever.
Some salt and sweet and salty thing going on. But yeah, no, I would definitely recommend you to make your own and perhaps limit the consumption so you're not having one every night, because I do know people who have one with watching a film or watching TV every time they come back and rush home from work.
Yeah.
And they think that they're having something healthier than crisps. In my opinion, it's probably as bad. So yeah, that's what I would say about popcorn.
Kids, stay away from popcorn. And I go cinema a lot as well, but no, I don't eat popcorn, but yeah, I'm glad now, because I used to always think, oh, it's popcorn, it's healthier, but like, no, I'm gonna stay away from it.
And I'm sure most people know about the sugar-coated popcorn anyways, the coffee flavored and so on. That's, Yes.
Ah.
So what do you think about protein bars?
Well, obviously I know it is processed. I mean, my trainer used to always tell me not to have sort of protein powders or protein bars, but then I just thought it's because he would just rather me eat natural proteins instead. But I'm guilty of actually having, not as often anymore, because I don't train as much anymore, but like, yeah, I used to think, oh my god, they're amazing. But
some of them, to be honest, don't even taste that good anymore.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Very like fake,
yeah,
very man-made. It's almost a very man-made substance, and you can actually taste the fakeness in it.
Yeah, it's like plasticky, and it's just like it doesn't have any flavors and the texture, and it leaves this coating in your mouth like after you've eaten it as well. But then I just thought, hey, it's great stuff. It's like a quick protein. Okay, your face expression is already saying it. I'm like,
sorry to burst your bubble, but actually a lot of protein bars are full of calories.
Okay.
So I feel like, you know, you don't need those added calories after coming from a gym workout and so on. Then they're full of cheap fillers and cheap binding substances. So like extra things within because it's so processed.
Oh, right.
So it's very processed, and there's lots of cheap substances inside it, and who knows what the long-term consequences of these, you know, chemicals.
Having this stuff in your body.
Exactly, and having it for a long period of time and on a regular basis. So it's something that I would completely steer away
from. I'm so grateful to my trainer.
Yeah, no, you know what, I really like him for saying that. Yeah, well done.
He's been saying this to me for years, but I've just been like, well, sure, like everyone has them.
Yeah, no, a lot of people do have them. There's a lot of advertisement behind these protein bars. And again, they are very quick and convenient. You know, just have it in your bag. You know, you can buy a box and last you what, a good 6 months, long shelf life. But actually, if you think about it, how would you need to, you know, lengthen something's shelf life? There's a lot of stuff that goes in it, and then you've got a lot of fillers and hydrogenated oils and all of this stuff. You know, do we even know the long-term consequences of these on our bodies? I don't even think there is research to show that, because they haven't been, you know, used perhaps for a long enough time to actually show the detrimental effects that they have on our body. So it's just, I think it, as it tastes, I think it is that. It's a very man-made, and I'd consider it a very man-made substance that contains lots of man-made elements, and those elements are, I would completely put them in the grey area. Have you ever had a breakfast bar?
Do you know what, I used to, especially with the makeup and with traveling a lot and stuff, I used to always have one in the car, and I used to always eat them. But I think once, it was actually you told me this a few years ago when I first came to see you, with the sugar content of them. And that's when I actually stopped eating them. But like, sadly, my parents still do, and I think I sometimes forget what you say, so this is why this video is great. So I can now explain to them. So explain to us why they're so bad.
Okay, so just recapping on what we spoke about earlier on about breakfast. Ideally for breakfast, you need something very wholesome. So like I said, it's the breaking of fast essentially, and you need something that's very wholesome. So complex carbohydrates, you've got a good amount of good fat in there and some proteins. Now, something like a breakfast bar, could you think about the protein and good fat that's in there?
Yeah.
And then complex carbs, I mean, some argue that they have oats in them. But again, with all the processing, I mean, the breakfast bar looks far, you know, different from a bowl of porridge, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So with all the processing, and then the sugar.
Yeah.
So what happens is, when you have something like a breakfast bar, when you wake up on the go, you send your blood sugar levels soaring high. So when they are from a low,
I remember. Yeah.
So when they are at a low, when you wake up, then they go soaring high when you've had that. And then what happens? The quicker the blood sugar levels soar, the quicker they crash.
They're gonna drop, yeah.
And insulin.
And then literally within like a few hours, you just feel
hungry
exhausted
again. And that's when you want your caffeine,
you want that sugar.
Yeah,
so
you feel
true.
moody. Some people get irritable, and that throughout the day, over the years, over the months, will be diabetes. It goes from insulin resistance and diabetes.
I'm so gonna throw all the breakfast bars from my parents' kitchen and be like, that's it, you're not eating this.
That as well, and I just think, what nutritional value are you giving yourself for the first meal of the day? Like, that is meant to be, in my opinion, the most wholesome meal you could have, or you should have, actually.
And something that just keeps you fuller longer because
exactly.
You've had the right nutrients and minerals that your body actually needed, rather than
absolutely.
You know, packing it with all this crap. And then obviously,
and I like to call it empty calories, because it's empty in the sense you're not getting much nutrition, and then you're loading yourself with calories that you
just
probably
to fill
don't
yourself
need.
up. But then it's like, what's the point though?
Exactly.
Like, what are you benefiting from?
100%. So breakfast bars are something that I am not.
Yeah, guys.
I think I'm definitely gonna go check them out today.
Yeah, you know, I will, but I find the protein bars and the breakfast bars, I think a lot of people make this mistake. Well, I've only found out it's a mistake, but like, I think a lot of people do have that, because I think a lot of people who live in the city and who kind of work, you know, a lot, travel a lot, like for them it's just such a quick and they think, oh yeah, like surely if I'm just having this for the next 3 hours, it can't be that bad. But then you're right, because if you're not having any nutritional benefits, like things like your hair, your skin, your moods, and
100%.
all of these things are affected, and you have no idea where it's coming from. But it could be because of months and months of eating this crap, really.
And also, like with protein bars, it's a good point you touched. You can make your own protein bars at home that can last you for some time.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get your own protein. There's lots of different recipes out there, and you can make your own sort of bars.
Yeah,
and, you know, go down the whole baking
like
route.
these granola bars that people tend to do.
Yeah, or like get a good quality protein, like hemp protein is available, pea protein is available, and you know, chuck it all in the blender, follow a nice recipe and make your own protein bar. And you know, you might like some recipe that other people might not like. It's worthwhile trying them and tasting them. You'll only find out that way, but you can make your own. So that's something you can even have in the morning.
Okay.
If you do make something like that, you can have it for breakfast and you can have it after a workout.
Good, yeah.
It's quite scary how people are eliminating gluten without seeking professional advice or being tested, and I would definitely not recommend that unless you've actually seen a professional expert who has said, we would recommend you to avoid gluten, only because you're compromising your body from, you know,
especially if it's not
nutrients.
Because if it's not intolerant to it, why you're avoiding it? Like,
and there's a very small percentage of the population that is truly celiac, and for them they need to completely ditch gluten altogether. But people who are intolerant, either you need to see a professional expert who can make that judgment, or go down the testing route, and then you are able to, you know, suss out whether that is something that your body doesn't actually react, or you know, it reacts to and doesn't sit well with. But unless you don't know for certain, please don't go jumping around and eliminating food groups from your diet.
Yeah, assuming that you're intolerant, and that was one thing. Like, I think when I had certain symptoms and I didn't really understand what they were, I went to see Sana. This was like, what, 2 years ago now, I think?
Yeah.
Is it?
It seems longer, I think.
I'm not even sure, but like, yeah. But then I think she made me understand, and that's when I actually realized that I was gluten intolerant, when prior to that, like, I would eat so many different types of food, but then didn't understand why I had the bloating, why I had certain reactions to certain things and stuff. And but then even when it came to being gluten-free, it's like, what can I eat that's gluten-free? And that was something that I didn't realize. And when I saw her again, she just kind of said, oh my god, gluten-free crackers, what's wrong with you? Don't have them. And I was just like, I've been living off those for like a long time. But again, it comes down to the sugar level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you explained to me. Yeah.
If you think about it in a very, I would, you know, like to say in layman's term, you know, you're processing something from, you know, basics to that food item. Now to remove the gluten, you know, requires a lot more processing.
Right, okay.
So that further processing just makes it very processed to the point where it pretty much breaks down into your bloodstream like a bag of sugar.
Okay.
And sorry, I should make myself clear, I'm talking about gluten-free sort of breads and biscuits and pastas and so on. You lose that sort of whole grain aspect to it. And yes, although there are some people who suffer from, you know, gluten issues and they suffer from reacting to gluten, but I think these manufacturers have taken this out of context, and there's a lot of manipulation.
It's selling,
and it's more expensive.
Like,
so I think what people are doing are, you know, it's confusing people, and they just want to buy it because they think, hang on, it's gluten, so it's healthy. Well, gluten-free doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy in terms of products. I would definitely recommend sticking to the natural gluten-free products, so things like quinoa or like brown rice, rather than having the gluten-free bread or pasta. And if you did want
an alternative, because it's like,
exactly,
you can have, you know, if you love pasta so much you can't live without it, and like once in a while, I guess you can, at a restaurant or something, you can have the gluten-free option. But I would probably say, like you said, you've explained this to me before as well, like things like potatoes, or, you know, the like sweet potatoes and brown rice and whatever. It's like, that's still carbs in a way, but doesn't mean you have to resort to, you know, gluten-free bread or the man-made things, I guess, which
100%.
even if they weren't gluten-free, they're not really that great for you anyway. So it's kind of like,
you put it in the perfect words. Well done.
I'm a good learner.
No, you're absolutely correct. It's not like they first start off to be beneficial for you anyway. So then to go and have the gluten-free version, which are even more processed, you know, I just think if there is something you wanted, if you had something once in a while, then that's, I mean, it's okay. But you know, if you're resorting to this all 3 meals of the day, then I would definitely say be cautious about that. Also because these gluten-free products tend to be very low in nutrients. You know, by the time they are so processed, they've lost a lot of the nutrients. So you know, at the end of the day, you want to consider healthier options, and they are probably the gluten-free options that are not the sort of gluten-free branded products in supermarkets and so on.
Oh my god, guys, I think everyone that's followed me for the last 4 to 5 years always knew that I would have my cappuccino with soya milk, or I'd have soya milk in my cornflakes, or, you know, any product. And I remember when I went to see her and she was like, like literally, like, I do not touch soya. Whenever somebody says to me like, oh, I'm gonna have it with soya milk or something, I'm always just like, my nutritionist told me.
Keep away from it.
Yeah, guys, you have to listen to her. Like, this is crazy. Like, soya is just such a big thing that I thought was such a good thing, because a lot of shops, restaurants, whatever, that is their alternative to milk. They all serve soya, and you know, and this is one of the reasons I like Starbucks, not because the Starbucks coffee is great, sorry guys, but like, it's mainly because they have the almond milk, and they have other alternatives to
coconut as well.
Yeah, they've got coconut milk now as well.
But it's only been quite recently that they've started.
I think it's like January this year they've started, because prior to that,
it was only soya.
Yeah, it was only soya, and even now, if you go to like really nice fancy restaurants, they still only serve soya. And it's just like, it's such a shame, because I think it's like, you know, they think, oh yeah, it's okay, and then that's why people think it's okay to have soya milk, I guess.
Soya milk, I mean, my issue with soya milk is it's so, again, processed. It's very processed, but actually, you know, there have been some studies to suggest it's a hormone disruptor. It mucks up with your hormones. So I definitely think that that's something that, you know, personally I wouldn't be taking a risk, and I do recommend people not to have either. And aside from that, it also impacts your ability to digest protein. So soya milk contains a compound called trypsin, which actually inhibits protein digestion in the stomach. So it compromises your digestion, and I just think, you know, why would you want to do that anyways?
Especially vegans and vegetarians, like if you're already lacking protein in your diet, the last thing you want to do is have so many soya products and then kind of avoid, you know, 100%. Make it worse for you, I guess.
It's just, in my opinion, it's one of those very overly processed products that is just more harm than any good. So that's why I would, and because people rely on Starbucks and coffees and teas like 3 or 4 times in a day, for example.
Imagine,
you know, they're having a regular and large consumption of this, and it's just something that, you know, if it does have that impact, and those studies have shown, you know, those soy milk, you know, does affect digestion or hormones in that sense, then, you know, I would definitely keep away from it.
Yeah, like my dad and my sister, they suffer from gosh, is it underactive or overactive?
Underactive.
Yeah, underactive thyroid, hypothyroidism. Yeah, and I've noticed more and more women I meet, you know, even some of my clients or whatever, like a lot of them do suffer from it, and it's become so common. And funnily enough, my sister and my dad, like, they've stopped having soya because they were told by their GP to avoid. Yeah, see, and then it makes you think, right? Because obviously hypothyroidism, a lot of it has to do with your hormones, and
Absolutely.
you know, and especially for women, you know, why are you making it worse if the GP is already saying to you avoid soya?
Absolutely.
You can imagine how much damage it must actually cause for your hormones.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah, no, I'm so glad. Like, when I found out, I was actually quite appalled because, like I said, most places only give you the option of soya. And
how many times were you relying on your sort of cappuccino or soya Starbucks?
do you know what? I drank it for years, and I would have it.
Like today, would it be?
No, to be honest, I'm not much of a coffee drinker. Like, I might look like it on social media, but I only have it like maybe maximum once or twice a week, maximum.
Okay.
But it wasn't even the cappuccino. I used to have it with, let's say, because I'm lactose intolerant, I used to have it with, you know, my porridge or something.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it's a much larger consumption
Yeah.
of the soy milk. So, and even my chia seed puddings, I used to make them with soya yogurt. Like, you know, so a lot of it was soya, and
It is okay, but soya milk and soya yogurt, you know, people say it's actually nothing like the soybean. You know,
Okay.
It's just been so processed and so man-made that it's just far from being even soybean.
okay, fine. That's good to know anyway, because it changed my life completely. So.
That's really good to know. So probiotics essentially means live cultures or beneficial bacteria. So some of you might be aware that our gut contains trillions and trillions of good bacteria as well as non-beneficial bacteria. And we need good bacteria, you know, for immune function. We need good bacteria to make certain vitamins such as vitamin K. So they are truly important, and they also aid digestion as well. So with, especially in the Western world, with our, you know, so-called diets and lifestyles, and, you know, having antibiotics regularly and so on, does compromise and reduce the amount of beneficial bacteria we have in our guts. And I don't think many of us are topping up those levels adequately. So a couple of years ago, you know, a couple of big brand names have come out, you know, with probiotic drinks. And yes, they do have some, you know, live cultures in there. And they are quite easy and small, and you can just, you know, pop the drink down. And I know lots of people who were having it, you know, not to mention some people in my extended family, and I was just like, what are you doing?
What's so bad about them?
Right, so probiotic drinks specifically, some of them are loaded with sugar.
Oh.
And some of them, if they are the sugar-free versions, they are loaded with sweetener. So that goes back to my point about sweeteners and why they are
Right,
so good.
okay.
But the sugar, specifically in terms of, you know, bacteria in our gut, the bad or non-beneficial bacteria feed
off
the
it,
sugar.
don't they? That
So
makes
it's like,
complete sense.
what are you doing? A part of me, and this is my personal opinion, so please don't hold me against this, but like, a part of me believes that it may even be a manufacturing gimmick, so they want you to continue taking it. Because
you're relying on it, because you think you want to get rid of the bad and just like...
Exactly, so you think you're having a few
really
thousands of
clever.
bacteria in the drink, but actually the sugar that's in there, you're feeding the X amount of bacteria in your gut
It's
to grow
just
and
a vicious
multiply.
cycle then.
Exactly, and it's like you are back to square one, and then you're going around.
Yeah.
And you're spending, like you said, they are expensive.
They're-
You're spending
yeah.
lots of money on these. So that's my opinion about the drinks. However, talking about probiotics, it's very important to top up the levels. Now, live yogurt is a very good source of beneficial bacteria. If, however, you do not have dairy, you can get it in supplement form. Now, it's really important.
Which I take now since you've suggested it, but
Well done.
I've never talked about it on social media because I know you've advised me to not suggest supplements, because people should really go and see a professional.
Absolutely, because I believe in not every supplement works for everyone.
Yeah,
so it's really important that you seek professional advice. But yes, with the probiotics, I mean, if you do take them and you have been advised, please store them in the fridge, because they denature at room temperature. And also I'd recommend, don't have them with anything hot, because again, if you're going to have the probiotic and then you have like a hot meal or hot food like 15 minutes after, it's going to denature them, because live bacteria are very sensitive and they denature very quickly. So it's very important that you have them at a time when you haven't had something very warm or hot to eat, and you do top them up. I mean, personally, I have I go through like a pack of probiotics once every 5-6 months to kind of top up my levels. But if someone has gut issues, or they suffer from like a leaky gut or IBS, probiotics have been shown to help. Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
100%. And when I say probiotic drinks, I think I would also put down, the sort of probiotic yogurts, the flavored yogurts in the same bracket, because again, they'll have a little bit, they'll say, oh, probiotic yogurt, good yogurt with good bacteria. But the flavor in it, like the blueberry flavor, the blackberry flavor, that's got so much sugar. So you've got
you're better off having the live yogurt, which is just plain, and just adding your fruits and
100%.
your honey or something. I don't know.
100%. Absolutely. You've got that spot on. So you add in your own controlled amount of sugar, to be honest.
Okay, so these are all the things, we mentioned foods to avoid, and I've learned a lot from this actually, because you would naturally think somebody's... No, but you think when people talk about foods to avoid, they're gonna say, don't eat chocolate, don't eat pizzas, and whatever. And I think that's just common sense. Like a lot of us know this, but then there are food that we're eating every single day, and we're wondering, why is this having such a negative impact or whatever. So this is absolutely great, Sana. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you guys.
And
listening.
If you haven't seen the first part was all about foods to eat that are very, very beneficial, and obviously this part was all about the kind of foods to definitely avoid, guys. So I hope you found this really helpful, and again, this is from a professional point of view, but also, Sana's opinion. So, if you have seen your own professional nutritionist or any other health professional and they've said otherwise, by all means go with whatever works for you. This is just,
personal preference and opinion, and what my opinions basically that I've collated over my years of experience, essentially. So
I trust her. What for me? So whenever people ask me like, oh my god, you've lost weight, and your hair looks great, your skin looks great, it is a lot to do with not just the foods that I've been eating, but a lot of it was the food that I had to avoid, just because I never understood that this food was actually bad for me. And I think understanding sugar is such a huge thing that I think a lot of people don't really talk about, and it doesn't get mentioned a lot. So I think I really, really hope, guys, that you've learned something from this. Obviously look into this, and if you have any questions or anything, like I said, speak to a professional. If not, just leave feedback. I'm sure there are other people who will have comments or feedback about this as well. So thank you again, and thank you so much, Sana.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed watching us. Please give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and I didn't think you were gonna do that.
I'm gonna stop thumbing up my own video.
No, yeah, guys, give it a thumbs up, especially now that she did it twice. And yeah, please do not forget to subscribe, and I really, really hope that you found this, both the videos, both the parts, very helpful. Bye!
Probiotic drinks or probiotics, actually, it basically means live cultures or beneficial bacteria. So our gut has...
I could see that piece of hair. I'm like, you're like trying to Oh my god, it's like God doesn't want us to talk about probiotics. I know. Don't talk about gut. Yeah. Oh, why?
God.
I'm really curious now. This is making me itch to know what the hell
is about probiotics.
What's about probiotics? Okay, fine. Let's do this again.
Okay.